Some prisons are built to hold monsters, some are built to hold kings, and some are built with one promise whispered into every brick, every bar, every locked steel door. No one gets out. You can feel it in the sound of gates slamming shut, in the heavy footsteps echoing down concrete halls, in the way guards talk about the walls like they're alive, like they're partners in the job. No one gets out. But history has a habit of humiliating certainty, because sometimes, against rules, against logic, against impossible odds, someone does. They disappear into oceans. They rise into the sky. They walk through the front door wearing authority like a costume. They tunnel through stone while the world sleeps above them. And when morning comes, the bed is empty. The head count is wrong. Phones start ringing, sirens ignite, and the same question spreads from officer to officer, prison to government, nation to nation. How did they do it? Tonight we're stepping inside the wildest escapes ever recorded. The risks, the miracles, the moments control slipped. And trust me, some of these endings still don't make sense. Let's begin. Frank Morris and the Brothers. Alcatraz, 1962. Night on Alcatraz doesn't whisper. It warns. Wind claws at the buildings, rattling metal, sneaking into your bones until you believe what the guards repeat every day. The water will kill you. From the yard, San Francisco glows like another universe. Music, laughter, warm lights, close enough to dream, too far to reach. Most men stared at that city and surrendered. Frank Morris stared and calculated. He noticed the vent in his cell, old, weakened. Time had been working on it longer than he had. A spoon became his accomplice. Every night he scraped, slow, patient, stopping whenever footsteps echoed. Above him, guards joked, smoked, trusted the myth of the island. Below, the myth was crumbling into powder. Months passed, the hole widened. Behind the cells was a forgotten corridor. Pipes, darkness, possibility. They built heads from soap and paper. Painted eyes, used real hair, good enough for the night. Raincoats became a raft. Thread became hope. June 11th. The dummies go to bed. The real men climb up the pipes across the roof, down into the cold. They push into black water, swallowed by current and legend. Morning comes. A guard taps Morris's head. It breaks in his hand. Chaos erupts. Helicopters scream overhead. Boats tear through waves. Officially, they drowned. But letters appear. Rumours refuse burial. A photograph decades later suggests 3 men smiling somewhere far away. Maybe they died. Maybe they lived. But Alcatraz lost something permanent that morning. Its certainty. If that shook you, subscribe, because the next escape didn't go through walls. It went through fear. John Dillinger. The day authority linked. Crown Point Jail loved to brag. Escape-proof, modern, untouchable. Dillinger listened like a man measuring arrogance. March 3rd, 1934. He raises something in his hand. Small, dark. Nobody wants to test it. Suddenly trained officers become terrified humans imagining headlines. Doors open, weapons change sides. And Dillinger walks out. Not running, walking. For a few glorious hours he becomes folklore. The outlaw who embarrassed the system. Crowds adore him. But governments don't forgive humiliation. The escape that made him famous made sure the hunt would never stop. And history was already moving to close the distance. Pascal Payet. Escape from the sky. Routine, head count, nothing unusual. Then someone hears it. A tremor in the air. Guards step outside. A helicopter is descending, not to attack, to retrieve. Inmates scream in disbelief. Payet runs toward the noise like destiny. Within seconds, he is airborne, above the walls, above the law, and the men below are left staring upward, explaining how gravity betrayed them. You'd think it could never happen again. It did. And again. Until finally the sky stayed empty, and Payet learned even legends land, the maze. When a prison became a battlefield, uniforms blur everything. When prisoners suddenly look like guards, hesitation infected every decision. Who do you stop? Who do you salute? By the time answers arrived, gates were open, vehicles taken, men scattering into countryside. It wasn't just escape, it was political earthquake. Governments trembled. Newspapers exploded, and somewhere far from the walls, fugitives inhaled freedom they never expected to feel again. But freedom like that is temporary, because maps remember. Billy Hayes, the man who walked out. No sprint, no sirens. Billy Hayes wore the uniform of a guard, straight back, steady breath. Every step toward the gate invited disaster. But nobody questioned him, because confidence is camouflage. When the last door opened, he didn't celebrate. He kept walking. Only later, at distance, did he understand the miracle, and the world would later turn that walk into cinema. But in the moment, it was terror pretending to be normal. Libby Prison. The night the earth opened. They dug by candlelight. Air barely breathable, every scrape gambling with death. Above them, boots paced, unaware the ground itself was surrendering. When the first man climbed out, the sky felt unreal. Men followed, dozens. By dawn, fury would chase them. But for a few perfect hours, hope outran history. El Chapo, the vanishing cameras watched him constantly. The state promised there would be no miracle. He bent to tie his shoes and dissolved into the floor. A ladder, a shaft, a tunnel lit like rebellion. By the time authorities arrived, the silence was already laughing. The world stared in disbelief. Again, he would be caught later. But the damage remained. The idea that even certainty could be tunneled through. Giacomo Casanova, escape into legend. Venice, masks, whispers, a prison beneath a burning roof. Casanova didn't rush. He charmed, observed, waited. Then he carved upward, through ceiling, through fate. At one point he opened into the wrong room. Guards almost saw. He smiled, improvised, survived. When he stepped into the night, he wasn't just free, he was unforgettable. Because some escapes don't just save a life, they create one. If you love stories like this, subscribe now. There are centuries more waiting to break out. The Texas 7. Freedom with an expiration date. 7 men vanish into traffic. For days nobody knows where they are. America watches, but being out is different than staying out. Faces hit television. Tips pour in. A trailer park becomes destiny. Surrounded. No miracle left. One chooses death. The others surrender. Sometimes the world becomes the prison. Dieter Dengler. Escape into something worse. Vietnam. Captured, chained, starved. Dengler watched the guards, memorized weakness, then ran. But outside wasn't freedom. It was jungle, hunger, rain, hallucination. One by one, others fell. He kept moving until aircraft finally appeared. Rescue. A man who escaped prison only to survive hell. Prisons promise final answers. History laughs. All it takes is one mistake, one idea, one human being who refuses to stay where they're placed. If you want more stories where certainty collapses, subscribe and stay with us. Because somewhere tonight, someone is staring at a wall and seeing a door.